Okay, we've got Brady Ramsey with Over the Top Magic. Welcome back for another interview today. How are you doing, Brady?
Doing all right. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so today we're going to continue our discussion for marketing teams or business owners that are trying to maximize a trade show or a corporate event too, which would be another option. With this information, it's useful for both, really, a lot of times. And if you're a business owner and you're trying to get away from, feeling overwhelmed and not sure if you're going to make any money at a trade show, and you want to, and you want things to go easier and smoother and become more profitable and get more leads and ultimately clients, customers, or patients for your business or your practice, then this is the place for you. And last time we talked about making a plan. And so this time we're going to talk about finding the entertainment. Like, how do you find the people that will make this work for you? And so Brady, we talked last time was about the first thing to do, I guess, was doing a search. So how do they go about doing a search?
Well, there's a few ways you can do it. You could stumble upon um, a, entertainer. You could be at an event and they have an entertainer, and you just think to yourself, "Hey, how can I get a hold of this guy?" And then you just look him up, whether it be Google or you ask the event planner of that event, "Where did you get this guy?" And they'll give you his information. However, but yeah, usually it's just a Google search nowadays. Back in the day, it was waiting for a pamphlet or something to get in the mail with a brochure of what we do. But now it's technology based and everything's Googleable.
So what kinds of things should somebody search for? What kinds of terms should they use? Should they get
Well, you could
specific or
just
general or?
you could do. I would be specific and say a magician, corporate magician, because if you just type in a magician, you might be calling 20 kids magicians before you realize that they're not what you're looking for. So you want to do something in the corporate side, or they will specifically say, "I'm a trade show magician." And that way that you know that they specialize in what you're looking for.
Awesome. So corporate entertainers is a pretty broad topic, so you might want to get more specific, and that makes sense. So next thing I think you mentioned was doing your due diligence and kind of pre-screening or evaluating the options. What are some of the different kinds of entertainers a business might consider?
Well, it depends on the trade show. Um, some some of them would have a speaker, but that becomes kind of awkward, I think. Like at a trade show, all of a sudden you hear above the audience, 15 minutes, come check out this product. And then they just, then people will go over there and you just talk about the product. That's just basically announcing versus having a nice quiet sign up for when people walk by. If ahead of time, if they want to see it, they'll show up. So, and then there's a lot of different ones. You could have actors and comedians, but it's kind of the same thing. You give the actor your script, and then they talk about your product, or a comedian, which would be the same as a magician. You just announce, "Hey, there's going to be a comedian, a show, come watch." But there are some things to steer clear of. um, like for example, I uh, there are magicians or entertainers out there that are called buskers, and those are street performers. Not saying they couldn't do it. It's just they develop a habit after each show on the street to ask for money. So, and it might be a hard habit to break, to just throw their hat out there and see what happens. Um, Not to belittle buskers. I mean, I did it back in the day. I tried it out for a little while and it wasn't for me because it's yeah. There's too many entertainers on the street where I was, and yeah, a lot of competition. There are certain trade shows that you could have certain entertainers. Like if there's a trade show specifically aimed at Halloween, you might look into some spooky clowns. Or if it's a trade show based on specifically kids entertainment, then you could have a clown. But at a corporate event, I don't see anyone, hey, you guys, come over here to our booth. That's not not what I would be looking for in entertainment. And there is another one. Speaking like corporate events, I've had conversations with people that have hired me, and I've kind of had to direct them not to go a certain way. Like sometimes they'll just say, "Oh, we're just going to hire a DJ," and they're like, "Okay, I mean, is that entertaining, or you're going to have a bunch of people standing around talking about work?" Or and they said, "Well, our other option was a hypnotist," and I had to stop them there because that could be a career killer, if that makes any sense. Because if you're the one that goes up on stage and they make you do something super embarrassing, you're never going to live that down. Everybody's going to remember it, and it may not be something you want them to remember. So, yeah, but like a magician, they can get you to the booth and they can entertain you, and it's nothing crazy. It's that perfect medium, and people want to be entertained. They come to be entertained, especially if you have the sign announcing it. People will come.
That's excellent. So magician is a good option for a number of reasons. And perhaps some of those other choices, but it really depends, right?
Yeah, because a magician's kind of a mix of everything. We can joke around like a clown. We could flip cards like a juggler. We can get you to do what we want, which is kind of hypnotic. We're good at speaking because we do it in front of people all the time, and obviously we do magic. So
it's a good match for a trade show then, sounds like.
yeah,
that's great.
Best of 8 worlds. I don't know.
I didn't think about that before. That's awesome. Okay, so our next step, kind of the checkpoint we got to cover is, how does the business make sure that they're able to do a trade show and that they're able and willing to? And, can you specialize in a trade show? What are some of the issues there?
Are you asking if the company should have a trade show or if they should have entertainment at the trade show?
No, the good question. Should they have an entertainer, and how do they know the entertainer can even do it?
Well, once you find the entertainer or entertainers, I'm sure you'd line up a few. You should hold some kind of meeting or audition, something to prove to them that first you can do what you say you're going to do and that you're entertaining at it, versus just finding someone on Google and, hey, we want to hire you. What's the next step? And then if they don't know what you're talking about, or if they answer the phone and you say, hey, we're looking for a magician for a trade show. You available? Oh, sure, yeah. What day is it? And then they don't understand the concept of like if they don't ask where it is or when it is, that's the first step of, you may not want this guy because your trade show might be across the country and he might have equipment that he doesn't want to lug all the way over there, or there's lots of do's and don'ts. So first thing would be a phone call and then set up a meeting I wouldn't set up the meeting until you know what he does, what kind of magic he does, what kind of props he needs. Because if he has a big illusion show, it's going to cost your company a lot of money to ship his stuff around. So you might want to think about that.
Yeah. And what about the schedule? What is the schedule like typically for a trade show?
Well, it could change, but typically the trade show booth will want you to do at least 1 or 2 shows every hour, and then also some close-up magic to get the crowd to you, because you could do some impromptu 30, 40 people. You get someone over here and they grab someone and you keep grabbing people, and then you could just go into a show there, and then you have your scheduled shows as well. It's just all day for 2-3 days.
Excellent. Okay, so I guess the next step would be what would happen after this? I guess they have to kind of review these people, and you hold an audition, I guess, right?
Yeah, they'll hold an audition and make sure that you've possibly done a trade show or you've done some kind of event where you can entertain a crowd. And like I said earlier, not to all of a sudden have a kids magician sitting in front of you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've done kids shows. I feel if you can entertain kids, you can entertain adults. So, because kids can be tough, especially certain ages. They think they know everything. But yeah, it's one of those things you just want to set up, plan a meeting, plan an audition, and hopefully the magician prepares to do at least one set of what he plans on doing during one of those days of the trade show. So that way you know what to expect and there's no surprise of, yeah.
Is it worth setting up like a, you know what they would do for if they were casting a play, they would kind of have a big audition notice and people would just come from all walks of life and they would have to sit there for, I'm just imagining America's Got Talent, where they're sitting through thousands of entries. I'm assuming no small business or even bigger business would want to bother with that. They would probably just want to weed them out before they even got to that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could go that route, but who has all day to do that? And if you finally pick your guy, hopefully you use him over and over and over and over, because you're not going to want to do that again.
Right.
You'll learn the first time not to do that again. So
yeah,
if you Google, if there's a magician worth contacting, he's gonna be on Google. And first, if he's not, then obviously you won't contact him because you don't know he exists. If he doesn't have a website, a legit website, then that's kind of a catch-22. I should say that I have a magician friend that does lots of trade shows, and he keeps talking about updating his website, but it's kind of stuck in the 90s. But he gets plenty of work, but you have to know how to find him. So unless you know his website, I guarantee you probably won't find him on Google.
Yeah. Now, how about for you? Have you had to audition for some of the businesses you've worked for?
Yes, I've had to audition for a few, like Walgreens, Microsoft, and there's some other ones. But it's kind of interesting how they just bring you into a lunch meeting for 15, 20 people, and they're just like, entertain us, and you do a couple things, and by the end of the audition, you'll know if you've got it or not by their reactions, because they're not going to be like, hey, yeah, we'll let you know. You're like, well, there's no one else waiting out there in the lobby. So
were there other magicians there, by the way, or were they just auditioning you by yourself at that point?
I was all by myself. Whether they had anybody on a separate day, I don't know, but I guess I was a talented one enough to get it. So
that's awesome. Well, and congratulations. I think that's interesting. And I think a lot of businesses would want to know that little information that you just shared, because I can imagine what it sounds like they did is they already thought that you were the one, but they just wanted to make double, they wanted to be double sure. That's what do you think? Does that kind of sound reasonable?
Yeah, that's kind of what we said earlier with the find them, have an audition to make sure they're legit, because the last thing you want to do is pay that kind of money for an entertainer to go across the country with you and just totally fall flat on your face. So
on the audition, how long was that for you? How long did they expect?
I did about 20, 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular audition was specifically close-up magic. So it's card tricks, coin tricks, anything I can do close up with my hands, even some mind reading type stuff you can carry with you.
I don't expect it would be fair for a business to ask too much of a professional performer, though. It's, to me, if I were to, maybe if it's Microsoft and they've got a big gig for you, I can see them. But, especially if they're not in your area, I can't imagine it'd be fair for them to call you up and say, hey, I want you to come in and perform for us for free. Give us a half-hour show, basically, for free, and then we might hire you. That doesn't sound too fair to me. I think they should probably pay you for your time.
It's not, but at the same time, if it's an audition, it's an audition. I did have one time where I did the audition and it went good. And then and then they contacted me a week before and then they were adding on a bunch of stuff. Like, oh, we need you to come on, do a couple things on stage and this and that. Like, this was not part of the price.
Right.
You know, and I did it for them because they were a first time client, but I learned from my mistake there, and because it almost set me up for failure, and it didn't it didn't go as well as it could have.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There were a lot of circumstances. This particular event, the power went out, and they still expected me to go on stage and do my effects with no sound, 700 people in the room. It did not go well, especially they had a speaker up before me and nobody was paying attention to that. And I tried to tell them, I was like, I can't go up there. Like, well, like, okay, fine. You're the boss. I'll do it. But now I have 700 people that may or may not ever be interested in me because it didn't go well.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's good for you to be telling upfront with these businesses, even if somebody's watching this video and they're thinking about it, it's not like you both want to have, it's not like anybody wants to have a bad show, right? Like the business needs you to have a good show and you need to have a good show. So it makes sense for them to use common sense and work with you on all these things. And also it doesn't make any sense for a business to try to take advantage of a good corporate entertainer, because if, like you said, if it's going to be a long-term business relationship that benefits both, you want it to start well. And things that start poorly are sometimes destined to end poorly, right? So you might as well, if I were the business, I wouldn't want you to come out and waste a bunch of time and have a lousy show, because it doesn't help anybody, right?
Yeah, we don't want to. You don't want them to end your part of the trade show early either. So you want to make sure that first day goes well, because once the first day goes well, because they know what to expect because you've shown them, but there's still people that come with the business that weren't part of the meeting, and then you end up doing like hospitality suites later that night at the hotel, and it leads to a lot more work. So.
Right. Well, thank you. This has been really good. I think we covered it. Finding good entertainment for a trade show. Is there anything else you want to
add? No. That does about cover it. So.
Great. And if somebody wants to ask questions or maybe wants to work with you or hire you, Brady, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to my website, overthetopmagic.com. They could find me in multiple places. I'm sure on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. There's lots of places to find me, but overthetopmagic.com would be the main place. There's a form you can fill out and send me an email. I can contact you. We can chat about your events.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.